Well, hello again, and welcome again to another episode of Down to Earth but Heavenly Minded. I'm your host, Rish. Going back, we were in the book of Genesis when Cain and Abel brought sacrifices to the Lord. Remember, the Lord didn't accept Cain's offering. It was the work of his hands, and God didn't accept it. But also, when Abel brought his sacrifice, it was a blood sacrifice, and God accepted it. It was one of God's creation. It was a lamb or a sheep or whatever you're going to call it from his flock, and he killed it and offered it to the Lord. Well, today we're going to come to Aaron's sacrifice, and we're told that the Lord accepted Aaron's sacrifice. And today we're going to be in chapter 9, and the Lord accepts Aaron's offering. So let's read through this chapter. I think it's something like 24 verses. Anyway, on the 8th day, Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel, and he said to Aaron, "Take for yourself a bull, calf, from the sin offerings, and a ram for a burnt offering, both without blemish, and offer them before the Lord. And say to the people of Israel, take a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old without blemish, for a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for a peace offering, to sacrifice before the Lord, and a grain offering mixed with oil, for today the Lord will appear to you." And they brought what Moses commanded in front of the tent of meetings, and all the congregation drew near and stood before the Lord. And Moses said, "This is the thing that the Lord commanded you to do. The glory of the Lord may appear to you." And Moses said to Aaron, "Draw near to the altar and offer your sin offerings and your burnt offerings, and make atonement for yourself and for the people, and bring the offering of the people, and make atonement for them, as the Lord had commanded." And Aaron drew near to the altar and killed the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. And the sons of Aaron presented the blood to him, and he dipped his fingers in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar, and poured out the blood at the base of the altar. But the fat and the kidneys and the long lobe of the liver and from the sin offering he burnt on the altar, as the Lord commanded Moses. The flesh and the skin he burned up with fire outside the camp. Then he killed the burnt offering, and Aaron's son handed him the blood, and he threw it against the side of the altar. And they handed the burnt offering to him piece by piece, and the head of the burnt, and he burnt them on the altar. And he washed the insides and the legs, and burnt them with the burnt offering on the altar. Then he presented the people's offering, and took the goats of the sin offering that was for the people, and killed it and offered it as a sin offering, like the first one. And he presented the burnt offering, and he offered it according to the rules. And he presented the grain offering. He took a handful of it and burned it on the altar beside the burnt offering of the morning. Then he killed the ox and the ram, and the sacrifice of peace offerings for the people. And Aaron's son handed him the blood, and he threw it against the side of the altar. But the fat pieces of the ox and of the ram, the fat tail, and that which covered the entails, and the kidney and the long lobe of the liver, he put the fat pieces on the breast, and he burned the fat pieces on the altar. But the breast and the right thigh Aaron waved for a wave offering before the Lord, as Moses commanded. Then Aaron lifted up his hands towards the people and blessed them. And he came down from offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offering. And Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meetings. And when they came out, they blessed the people. And the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. And fire came down from heaven, the Lord, and before the Lord, and consumed the burnt offerings and the pieces of fat on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces. You know, when I think about the fire coming down and consuming it, I can't help but think of when the prophet went before all the prophets of Baal, and he poured water on the sacrifice, and it ran off into the troughs of the altar. But yet God came down and burnt it all up and accepted the sacrifice. And that's what I was thinking here when I seen God, sending down fire. Let's just take a look at that real quick here. And fire came out from before the Lord and consumed the burnt offerings and the pieces of the fat on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces. That must have been quite a sight. Wished I would have been there. Well, that ends our reading for today, and we will see you tomorrow, Lord willing, and we'll give you another episode. So bye for now.